lot of people cannot let that go the way you challenged him. So how did you go from there to here?
I want Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States. I believe in Joe Biden. I believe in his perspective. And frankly, I think that conversation is a distraction from what we need to accomplish right now and what we need to do. And we certainly have one thing in common in this election, in addition to all the policies, which is Donald Trump should not be president of the United States. And so that's where I'm focused.
With that conversation in their rearview mirror, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are done with it, done talking about the past, they hope. With their counterparts focused on their big event this week, the Democrats are poised to push forward. The campaign already out with a new targeted political ad, seizing on Trump's call for a boycott of Goodyear. It'll air in Akron, Ohio, near Goodyear headquarters, and Fayetteville, North Carolina, near their manufacturing plant. Joining our conversation, Axios political reporter Hans Nichols, and lucky for us, Donna stuck around. Donna, I want to start with you. We just spent time with Stuart Stevens and Michael Steele, who disagree with Joe Biden about a lot more than the one issue Senator Harris raised. Do you think that divisions inside the Democratic primary, which was large and went on a long time, are overplayed, or do you think it's just sort of a question to ask and answer?
Well, I do think it's ask and answer. I think the Democratic Party is more unified than I've seen it because all of us recognize, having experienced this last 3.5 years, what the real threat is. And we're prepared, again, to have, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president are going to get pushback. They're going to get challenged. They are going to get, sort of confronted on a variety of issues, but we're prepared to do that after they're inaugurated, after they're elected on November 3rd. But we're not going to have that debate now because those differences really pale in comparison when you think about the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy and to our very lives. I mean, that is really what most Democrats I talk to recognize. And I do come from that progressive wing, and I will have no problem whatsoever voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Hans, take me inside what looks like a smart and targeted first ad buy, responding to something Trump said, but really getting themselves on offense, turning it around and using it against him in a pretty targeted way.
So target is right. We're at the stage of a presidential campaign where we all learn a lot more about geography. And in Northeast Ohio is Akron, Ohio, where, right? I mean, this was great about it. We look at our maps, we pull out Fayetteville. It's on the Cape Fear River. I had to look that up. I didn't know beforehand. But this is a move by the Biden campaign to make Trump play defense in states that he should have already put away. So, yes, they're doing targeted ads having to do with this Goodyear debate, this Goodyear kerfuffle, where Goodyear had restrictions on Make America Great hats. The president tried to turn it into a culture war. The Biden campaign tried to turn it into a manufacturing debate. And so, yes, you see the broader tactics of the campaign, but taking a big picture look at this, Nicole, at this stage, in the last week of August, we're 10 weeks out from Election Day, the Trump campaign wanted to have Ohio locked up, and they want to have North Carolina locked up. And yet the Biden campaign, even if they don't end up winning those states, they're going to force the Trump campaign to spend more money there. And at this point, those sort of tactical decisions matter.
Hans, it also strikes me that Joe Biden is fighting on Trump's turf. This is a fight ultimately about economic security. And where Trump went to counties like Erie, PA, and Bay City, Michigan, and Akron, Ohio, with an economic message, there are 4 years, and most of those places are in worse economic condition than they were 4 years ago. I think the fight about the economy is just, it's interesting that Biden is waging political battles in such a targeted way around the economy.
It's not just the economy. It's on this idea of manufacturing jobs for a white working class, right? Yeah. I was with the president, I guess that was 12 months ago, and he was in Lima, Ohio, making his version of the argument. But here's the little peeling back the numbers on Biden trying to go after Trump on the economy. When you look at the last two NBC Wall Street Journal polls, the economy numbers on who Americans trust more on the economy and bringing things back, even though Biden has a 10 to 12-point lead overall, the President Trump still has an advantage on the economy. And when you talk to Democratic strategists that are close to the Biden campaign, around the Biden campaign, they acknowledge that that's a concern because we don't know what the COVID's going to look like in November. We don't know what it's going to all look like with schools at the end of October. And they're somewhat puzzled on this. I think that's fair to say, and I'd be curious on what Donna would have to say about this. But Democrats are somewhat puzzled why Trump's economic numbers haven't cratered. It makes sense to them why Trump's numbers have cratered everywhere else, but they've been remarkably buoyant on the economy. And when you talk to Democrats, that's a concern. And now you see the Biden campaign trying to maybe puncture some of those numbers.
Well, Donna, I know you don't turn around national poll numbers nationally. You turn them around one Akron, one Fayetteville at a time.
Well, I think that's exactly right. And I think what you see, in North Carolina and Ohio are states where, the Biden campaign wants to be able to play in some of these states. They want to be able to expand the map. North Carolina has a Senate race that's at stake. This could make a difference there. And as Hans said, make them spend money. But I think where Democrats are really challenged is because a lot of voters perceive that it was COVID that caused the economy to fail, and they don't look at those kind of underlying conditions. But I do think that Biden and Harris have to continue to go after this. They can't just cede the territory of the economy, which looms large in people's everyday lives, to Republicans. So they'll make the case on competence around COVID, about how they would build and strengthen jobs, but they cannot let go of the economic argument, because even if they peel back 1 or 2 or 3 points from Trump in this territory, that's all a gain for Democrats. And I think that's the way Biden is seen, apart from the fact that he views himself as the working class guy, as a guy who can speak to union workers, as a guy who can speak to people who get up and, work with their hands every day. And I don't think he wants to let that part of his own biography be ceded away to Trump and to Republicans.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.